5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's afternoon again, and we are here. Leicester Till I Die TV, LTID TV. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live on YouTube, I know it's hard to look at this face and think that man's alive, but I am. Welcome along. Thank you very much. Do join in with the chat. And if you fancy coming on, I have pinned the link. It's not easy to say. Pinned the link in the chat. And if you want to pop on for 5 and just give your opinions on the Dutchman going back to Amsterdam or wherever he's from, mutually effective, apparently. But yeah, you can come on for 5 minutes if you want and give us your thoughts as well. And if you're listening on catch up or watching on catch up, stick your comments below. Always like to read those. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, whichever one that may be, thank you very much for lending me one's ears. So he's gone. It's official. We've waited, and you know things are bad when a non-Leicester fan is even cheering the news. That's how bad it is. Leicester City Football Club and Ruud Van Nistelrooy have mutually agreed that Ruud's contract with the club as first-team manager will terminate with immediate effect. Apparently, this was done by Zoom. Oh, modern technology. So they didn't even pay for him to come over to tell him to his face. They have Zoomed him to tell him, sorry, you're gone. Andy King allegedly is to take over the training they say the process starts. Hopefully it has fucking been going on for weeks if they've known this was going on. If they haven't, well, we all know what's going on at Leicester, don't we? Other news, Sean Dyche is keen to talk to Leicester City. And Rolls compensation with Sheffield Wednesday has been halved. So it will now cost us just £1 million if we want to get in Danny Roll. Are you listening, Wayne? But look, talking of Sean Dyche, the man, the myth, the legend that is, I've got him on as a favour to Kate to keep him out of her way so she can get on and do proper things. Look, talk about when you finish with a lover, and then every time you turn a corner, they're there. And as much as you try to avoid them, they're always there. He's back from outer space. Let's talk Leicester. Let's talk Ruud Van Nistelrooy with that. Good afternoon, Andreas, and good afternoon, Daniel.
I wish it was afternoon.
Well,
it's still morning yet, Chris. Still morning. I've still got me freshly squeezed orange.
You've got bloody vodka in there. Don't lie, you bastard.
I wish I did. I wish I did. That's tomorrow's job.
Oh, you've had that on your cornflakes, have you?
Just neat.
Yeah, I can't stand it. But I might have to have one in celebration. The man, the myth, the absolutely shit guy has gone. Yes, you were celebrating. I'm celebrating. It's almost as good as sex. The man has left the building. I mean, you were cheering there, obviously jokingly, in the green room. Your thoughts on, I mean, we've spoken about this just recently, and thank you so much for coming on. Don't forget, guys, to check out Dan's channel at Turf Moorhouse TV on YouTube. His link is in the description below, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that it's happened now. I thought they were going to wait until the 1st of July when the new PSR year starts.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one. It only came out the other day that it was going to be just, the 1st of July when it happens. To do it over Zoom, I mean, I suppose it's a cutthroat business, football anyway. So it's like getting dumped by text, isn't it? It's not
Yes.
it's not that great, but neither was his record at Leicester, was it? Leicester, we can all say that it was dealt a bit of a shit hand really after Steve Cooper. I know obviously a lot of fans will say Cooper potentially could have kept the club up, but he started pretty well, didn't he? I think he win on his first game against West Ham. And it's optimism were high after his 3 wins and a draw at Manchester United. Thought maybe this is the guy to come in and change Leicester's fortunes. As a I won't speak about Burnley too much, but we wanted him as our manager when we were in the hunt for a new gaffer, and obviously look at the contrast. We said it the other day, didn't we? We were all like, "Yeah, you've took Scott Parker. Good luck."
Yes.
And sometimes it's one of those, Chris. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
I have put on so much weight because I've eaten so much humble pie over that comment. I've put a bit of weight on. Yeah, I mean, look, he had probably the best job interview ever when he was Man United manager. He played us twice, but that's actually not such a big deal because we were so shite. So he met us once in the league and once in the cup. He beat us twice. And let's be honest with you, even as a manager is shit, if you've got a team like Man United had, you should at least be beating teams like Leicester and Southampton, which they did, in fairness. And I think that's what got him the job. Because although, I've got to say again, we took on Enzo after, was it 6 games or 12 games, something in charge of Palmer? They sacked him, and look what he did. And yet, Ruud Van Nistelrooy had got a whole season in charge of PSV and won them a cup. But he was just absolutely awful.
Yeah, some managers just don't. It just doesn't work at certain places. I think he's gone in there and again tried to use the name. This is why I look back at managers like Steven Gerrard, who were told by Jurgen Klopp, forget Steven Gerrard the player. Now you need to go write your name as Steven Gerrard the manager. This is a clean slate. Your record as a player stands for itself, but your record as a manager it's nothing at the moment.
No.
Ruud, I think, has still lived off his Premier League legacy, and he's tried to let that do the talking. I'm going to walk in here, and because I'm Ruud Van Nistelrooy, potentially fortunes will change. It's not how it's going to be.
No.
It's not always sunshine and rainbows, and you've got to try and make that work. That's how you weed out the good managers from the shit managers. And I think just right now, it was just the wrong club for Ruud. I think he will go on and have success elsewhere, maybe potentially in his career. But the timing and that part of the season, I thought for Leicester, they needed somebody to come in who been there, done that, and could really steady the ship.
Yes, it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, yes, Van Nistelrooy has to take the majority of the blame, but I think a little bit of the blame has to go to the club as well, because it gave, all right, the argument, I guess, was that we kept hold of Brendan Rodgers too long and probably should have gone earlier. So they went completely the other way and sacked Steve Cooper before he'd even unpacked his suitcase. The fans were against Steve Cooper from day one. We won't know whether he would have kept us up. And I have to say, I wanted Steve Cooper, but then I also wanted him gone, and I wanted Ruud Van Nistelrooy. But, he didn't get a chance. And like I said, we won't know whether he would have kept us up or not. But it was a very early decision. We weren't in the bottom three. We got as many points almost under Cooper. And yet they stuck, having sacked him so early, they stuck with Ruud Van Nistelrooy. I mean, they just said earlier on Sky Sports News, 9 Premier League games without scoring a goal. It's an all-time record.
It's poor. It is a very poor record. I don't know how. I know those stats are out there to be broken. They always are, but it's just everything about it. I don't know which way he was trying to set up. It was like he was trying to play attacking football, but then there was just no end to it. He had all the motion of trying to get forward, work the ball forward. But then when it came to being up top, it was like, what do we do from here?
Well, the few times we got it up top, in fairness, that was...
Yeah. You could see what he wanted to achieve. Like I said the other day, there was glimpses of what he wanted to achieve, but it just didn't work.
Do you think? And this is a bit of a wild card to throw at somebody who hasn't really watched us, but I think that obviously I'm getting fed up with this Pep dust. You've been sprinkled with Pep dust. You bumped into him at an award show once and touched shoulders. Oh, we've got to have him. Do you think, and that was the thing with Enzo, and look, he did keep us up, did get us back up, he did win us the championship, and I think that hides the fact that with Enzo, we actually went from 17 odd points clear to winning the championship by 1 point. So, we went on a bit of and he didn't change. Do you think Enzo would have kept us up? Because I honestly don't think he would have done playing his style. I don't think we had the players.
No, it strikes me of Vincent Kompany. In the championship, we played silky, sexy football, and it got us promoted. Records broken, left, right, centre. Same thing in the Premier League. One of the most dismal seasons I've ever witnessed. So yeah. I can't say that he would have done. I can't say that he would. It's I could be the pessimist and say yeah, but no. It's I honestly do not think he would have. I do not think he would have done. It's everybody nowadays, even League One, League Two, they're trying to replicate this football now, and you can't. You've got to have a certain caliber of player. Look at what Pep's done. It's the little things. He'll sign a central midfielder and say, right, you're not playing there. You're going to be playing more of a, the winger role or something like that, because I need you to. We bought you for the strengths that you've got of running in behind. The stats that he watches, it's not. He doesn't even care about where they play on the pitch. It's I think you can run in and do that job that I need you to do.
Well, you signed somebody, you said last night, from Sheffield United. It was a number 9, and yet you never played him at number 9.
Oh, the guy from Millwall, Ian Fleming. Yeah, he played that number 9 behind the striker. And to be fair, last season we played, a 1 behind the striker, and he never played there. He always played as the main man up top, which I thought was quite deceiving. We had Lyle Foster, obviously, who came back from mental health struggles, and you were playing him sort of there or put him out wide. And it's just like, you've got this guy who can play number 9. Why aren't you playing him there and then playing Lyle Foster up top? Why have we not even seen it once over the course of 40 odd games? It's madness. But this is the thing, isn't it? Or to be a manager.
Well, yeah, we're all managers, really, aren't we?
100%. 3 pints deep, and we've all done our tactics and everything.
Oh, I win the World Cup with England in my dreams. You know what I mean? But I don't think, first of all, I don't think Enzo would have kept us up, because look at Southampton. They tried to carry on playing the same style. He's gone to Chelsea playing that style, but Chelsea's players are way above ours, and our standard of players. So it works. But look, he went. We got Steve Cooper in, who nobody wanted from. Well, not many wanted from the start because of his Nottingham Forest connections. Strange that, yet we love Martin O'Neill and we love Mez Morgan. I don't know some fans, but yeah. So, but he comes in, and the thing I think was that you'd got Enzo, who had taken this style and installed it into the players for a season. The whole club were playing the same way. The youngsters were, the babies were, etc. And then you get a new manager coming in with Steve Cooper, whose style was completely different. And it probably did mess up with a little bit with people's brain and what have you. And then Ruud Van Nistelrooy comes back in and tries to change it back to how it was. You know, the players were, you know, I remember watching Ndidi on more than one occasion. It was like one of those players I played with on FIFA. You know, I'd run it out of play when I'm trying to score a goal, what have you. And you can't keep changing styles, can you?
No. Like I said, the changing in managers does not help. We said it the other day about, you know, the predictions in Watford where they chop and change all the time. You know, how are your players getting used to a system? They can't get used to that system if that manager comes in, sorry, and he's trying to implement something that these players are like, what? And you're going to get, you know, I think there was rumours that there was some egos at Leicester as well in the changing rooms. You know, he's having to battle with all that. And I think that's another thing. You need a manager now. Wayne. Who's going to come in? Who's going to come in, weed out the shit, you know, separate the, you know, take the scum off the top, basically, and, you know, be left with a decent crop underneath. That's what he's good at. He's good at, you know, weeding out the ones that are there to cause trouble.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of things said about player power at Leicester, and the likes of, you know, Jamie Vardy had more of the chairman's ear than the manager did. And I know when they sacked Claudio Ranieri, Mark Albrighton said this on a podcast. You know, he was driving down the M69, and, you know, people were papping the horns and shaking their fists at him. It was until he got home and read the news that the players had revolted. And he said, no, you know, nothing like that had happened. I wasn't even asked about it, sort of thing. So, but you do need a strong personality in there. And it's difficult to follow a manager. It's like when you're at work and you've got a new boss. And, you have such a good relationship with the old boss. And a new one comes in. But I want to bring Tony's point up there. Ruud Van Nistelrooy was never backed, same as Maresca and Rodgers, the board are culpable. Look, the board are going to be culpable. I will accept that. But when you go out, and the one thing we needed was a right back. What did he get in the January transfer window? A right back. How much did that right back play? One half of football. From January till the end. That footballer then puts up on his social media how he's missing home and, you know, maybe he's not made the right decision. So he got what he wanted, but he still insisted on playing a left back at right back when we could always see that it wasn't working. It was never going to work. I go back to the season before. Yes, he can do that role, Justin, but never so. Yeah, the board have got to be culpable, but the manager, but the book stops with the manager. I'm sorry. Look, let's go back. Like you said, you know, he came and he watched us play against Brentford on the 30th of November. Mm-hmm. And we lost 4-1. And when I say lost, that's being nice. We were absolutely we were humiliated. We were totally and utterly humiliated. He came in some 3 days later. Couldn't have had much to do because, you know, within those 3 days, we beat West Ham 3-1. And when we got a 2-2 draw with Brighton, and we suddenly thought, hey, up, things aren't going bad. Then he had like a whole week and bit to face Newcastle. We lost 4-0. We lost 3-0 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. You know, 2 big losses there, if you like. And we then lost Liverpool, Man City, Villa, Palace, Fulham. And we then beat not Tottenham Hotspur, but who didn't? You know, then we lost 4-0 to Everton, including conceding the quickest goal in Premier League
I
history.
remember that.
Lost to Arsenal, lost to Brentford again 4-0, lost to West Ham, lost to Chelsea, lost to Manchester United for the fourth time, lost to Manchester City, lost to Newcastle, got a draw with Brighton, lost to Liverpool, lost to Wolves, and then we just about managed to beat Southampton 2-0. I mean, when you look at that and you're thinking, well, all right, maybe in that period he was trying different things. You would expect a manager that's lost those many games to look at it and go, maybe this isn't working. It was the same team, the same formation for 95% of those games. In one game, he tried something else. That is not the board's fault. That is the manager being a complete and utter tosser.
That's his fault. Maybe he thought method to my madness that, the more they play together, the more it'll work. But let's not forget, they were already playing together, Ruud, before you'd come in. So, and the reason they got a new manager in is because it wasn't working then. So why are you trying to do what you're doing now?
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense. Didn't make sense one bit. I just think that if you're going to change it, you've got to do something drastic. If it's not working, there were a time under Sean Dash it weren't working for us. Luckily, we only had to change one thing, which was weird. But we dropped Joe Hart. We dropped a keeper, and it worked. That sounds strange, but
simplest thing sometimes.
Yeah, we dropped Joe Hart, and again, similar to yourselves with that win against West Ham, we played West Ham at the turf. Tom Heaton was back, put him between the goals, and the rest was history. I think we went on a 6 or 7 game unbeaten run. So you can either tweak things and hope for the best, or you can sort of have drastic measures. I think Leicester needed drastic measures. Playing some more youth would have probably helped and benefited. Again,
that's a good point because you could argue that we didn't have the biggest squad or this, that, and the other. There were players that were playing that knew, however shit they were, that they'd still be on that team sheet the next week.
Yeah.
And people say, well, he hadn't really got a lot of choice. He had a hell of a lot of choice because with all these youth players that, in fairness, we're now seeing the seeds of the new training facility, starting to grow and these young players coming through. And I'm hoping to see a lot of them next season. But he had those players there and he never, ever used them. He said one day, right, I'm going to be starting Monga, who we all know, he's a great player. He's going to be fantastic. And Evans, who was the striker. So Evans, as a 15-year-old, would go, oh, man, I'm in the team on Saturday. I'm in the team. And you'd have, going home and telling his mum, I'm on the team. It's brilliant, brilliant. Nowhere near the bench for Evans. Now, what does that say to the youngsters? Like, well, he's talking bullshit. I mean, I call him a bullshitter. But the youth were there. And if he tried the youth and we'd still been losing, the fans would have said, he's trying. At least he's trying something different. But he never did.
Yeah.
Insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, the same way, expecting a different result. But funny thing, I mean, again, you look at Nigel Pearson in the Great Escape year. Brought Mark Albrighton back in out of the cold. He'd fallen out with Mark Albrighton. But
in fact, Mark Albrighton were close to a move to us.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I've forgotten that. Yes, yeah. And then he actually was a big enough man to say the club needs him, brought him in, and the rest, as they say. And yet, here's Ruud falling out with players, and that's it. We don't see them. We need them. We need them, He's fallen out with Vestergaard, but he is the best of probably a bad bunch. He's fallen out with Wings. All right, wasn't having a good season, but who was? But if you want to be a manager, you can't let personalities rule, can you?
No, Kompany had essences of that. I think when you watch the documentary and all that shit with Johan Berg Gudmundsson, I think Kompany had this sort of issue with players that he hadn't signed. It was his way, his players, and all the players before him were basically deadwood. It's not right. It's not right, and it's in fact Sky Sports are just showing the man, the myth, the legend that is Sean Dash. Just not. But
you're ahead of me. Then I've got an advert about Russia.
oh, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I see like Armchair's comment. And what does Dash do when two players say they won't stay for an afternoon or evening training session? Will he firstly fine them? Firstly fine them heavily, and then say, look, I don't want your this sort of personality around the club. If you don't come back with a better attitude, off you pop. Dash
but then, do you think Dash would have, if he then realised a couple of games in that fucking hell, we're shit without that player? Would he, do you think, have been big enough to go back and say, we need you?
Yeah. Because there was a few times with the likes of, I go back over the years, Keith Tracy with his drink problems, Joey Barton and his hothead, but yet he's still trusted in these players. You could see these players came to Burnley and were a different animal. Joey Barton was this horrible, horrible person that came to Burnley and it almost like he'd become a churchgoer. Dash sort of put his arm around him, and he's so good at man managing. That's what Leicester need. They need man management.
Your man there's just popped up on screen, yes, and Danny Roll. And I know why he was saying that, because we had the problem with Winks is that he lived sort of in the Midlands. His wife had just had a baby. It was his, by the way. Wife had just had a baby and wanted to move down to Milton Keynes, where her family was, so her support network was. So understandable. And for one night, Winks, having just had a newborn baby, said, like, I don't want to stay over, boss. I want to go home and see my kid and what have you. Now, is that the end of the world? Is that worth saying, well, I don't want you near the club? I mean, under normal circumstances, perhaps, but you've got to take into the fact. I know Roy Keane once said about somebody for the Irish squad, when he was asked, are you going to pick him? He's just had a baby. He said, well, he's not. His wife has. What's he doing? As long as he's not breastfeeding, he should be fit. But you've got to give a little bit of a thing for that sort of situation, haven't you?
Yeah, and again, this goes back to Sean Dash. He's done that before, where there was a player in the team. I think it was his missus had not long given birth, and he said, "No, I've told him to go and go and take as much time as he needs. I'm here to do a job with the team that I've got, but at the moment, I've also got to see the human side of the player as well.
Yeah,
I can't just use." This guy's there to be used. Yes, he is, to try and get us promoted, but there's a human side to everybody. And that human side also, if you can, this is what I mean. It's the man management. If you said, no, go and take some time out with your family, that's priority right now. It's these years that you won't ever get back. Go and do that. If you can't do that, players and like that will respect you 1,000 times more than just going, fine, well, I don't need you, then don't come back.
Exactly.
Your kid's more important than the thing. There's more important things. We adore football, and the slightest little mess up, like Ruud leaving, yes, we're celebrating. But if it was a case of, a player now saying they wanted out, you'd be furious.
Yeah.
We can be fickle, but there needs to be. It's the man management for me that sells Dash to Leicester as perfect, and a Pearson mould. It works. I'm sorry, but I just feel like, and I know people said it the other day, I feel like I'm Dash's agent trying to say, just get him in.
Say, are you on a commission at all?
But he's the perfect man for the job right now.
Or someone has just said online, I think Dash's appointment would show a lack of ambition. You see, I don't. I'm with you.
Leicester fans, I'm sorry. This is what I said the other week to Chris. Stop biting the hand that feeds you. You've had the success. You've had the moments. You've had those highs. Haven't we all? We achieved European football. I didn't expect it the season after. We had relegation. We've had to battle coming back up again, down again. You've had League One days of having to rebuild. Don't forget where you are now. It's where you are now that you have to deal with, not where you were then. That is now history. Start to rewrite your own history right now. And that's by starting again, turning over a new page and getting rid of what needs to be getting rid of. Dash will do that.
Look, mate, you're talking to the converted, and look, when we're all kind of like oh, that guy's going to be shit for us, that guy's going to be shit for us. And then we take off the blue-tinted glasses and we have to look at reality. And I hate those people that say, well, you weren't there when we played Yeovil, on a wet Tuesday night in League One. Actually, yes, I was, but,
Were you there at the Orient game when we nearly went out?
Yes, exactly.
No, I wasn't, because my mum and dad weren't even around, or if they were around, they were out partying before they met each other and had sex. So calm the down, will you? Jesus Christ.
Can you say that's not somebody in the chat here, by the way? That was somebody online. So
yes.
We're not going to go anybody in the chat, but it is true. Look, just to catch up, and so Ruud Van Nistelrooy is left through mutual consent. So that obviously means we're not having to give him a huge big payoff. It's the mutually acceptable an amount, which is possibly why they've gone early. I mean, the players are coming back, on Monday, isn't it, I believe, if not before. Andy King will take training. Now, Andy King obviously is a Leicester legend. Too early, and everybody's saying, oh, give it to him. I mean, I would have understood giving it to him at the end of last season, but not now. I think it's sort of too soon for him. But he's going to take training. Sean Dyche is keen to talk to Leicester City. This is all via Sky. And the Danny Roll compensation package he has agreed with Sheffield Wednesday, if anybody goes for him, is 1 million. So that's been halved. So again, let's be honest with you, you pay 5-6 million minimum for a player these days. So 1 million is nothing. Esbaza, hi, how you doing? As a Leicester fan, I can see why they would go for Dyche, as he would get us up and keep us, which many has asked for. Look, when you give a manager a new job, Dan, it's usually on a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what the next 3 years will hold for Leicester. If we get anything, well, we might get a 12-point deduction. That's what, some people are saying. It might not be as high as that. We might, but let's say we get the 12-point deduction. That might be big enough for us to not go up this coming season. So we could have 2 seasons in the Championship, or we may just even do a Leeds and get into the playoffs and lose in the playoffs. So 1 game, Russian roulette. But when we get up, the main object then is to stay up. We're not going to get up and be, we're going to be 5th and 6th and qualify for Europe again. We want to stay up. So that 3-year period, Dyche, I believe, will get us up. I believe he would keep us up, and that's why I wanted Cooper back in the day. I think Dyche just fit. He ticks those boxes for me.
Do you know what, Chris? I didn't realise this until I just saw it on screen, and I thought, oh, I didn't realise he was there. But Yella Ruwala, who was the assistant manager, was at Burnley with Vincent Kompany, and again had a lot of say in the way they played, tried to be attacking, tried to see some of the ball, but didn't see as much of the ball in the Premier League. Not saying that it's down to him, but these are people with a certain philosophy, a certain style that they don't want to change. I didn't realise he was your assistant manager and goalkeeping coach. God,
it was weird because he was never
like a tea towel. You're trying to wring everything out of him, aren't you?
Well, we never actually ended up with him officially being the assistant manager. He was very much the goalkeeping coach. But apparently Brighton are after him. But whoever comes in is going to want their own team anyway. Yeah,
I totally agree with you.
I just want to read out to you what Van Nistelrooy said in his what he's come out and said. I would like to personally thank the Leicester City players, coaches, academy, and the staff I've worked with for their professionalism and dedication during my time at the club. Was he with another team or what? I would just thank the fans for their support, definitely with another team, and take this opportunity to wish the club well for the future. Now, that's bullshit, isn't it? Because he's got to say that to get his agreed package. And so that we all know that is bullshit.
How about the Chris? For your Dutch fans, can you just say that in Dutch?
Amsterdam. Um, but yeah, I mean, how can you know? I mean, obviously, like I say, that's a load of BS. I mean, the club have said themselves. Ruud has overseen a challenging period for the club. No shit, Sherlock. He was appointed in November 2024. He approached the role with professionalism, integrity, and a clear commitment to our aims, including through the integration of several promising players from the club's academy into our first team. I am calling BS on that because, like I said earlier, and he leaves with the respect and thanks to everybody at the football club for his dedication and hard work, and with our very best wishes for the future. Hi, Doug. How you doing, mate? Yeah, and again, I just think that's bullshit as well. We're all saying these nice things to,
suit the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. I look. I'm glad. Sometimes things don't work out, and I'm sure he was a very nice man. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Ian Holloway and Craig Levine when they were Leicester managers. Funnily enough, both of them at Burnley, because my lads were ball boys when they played away at Burnley. And I have to say a big thank you to Burnley, because back in the day, that was when teams only had one mascot, and the mascot was always the home team. And I have to say thanks, because I was working at the Burnley Express at the time. Eddie Lee, the head sports guy, obviously knew everybody at the club, sort of half arranged it for me. So well done to Burnley for that. And apparently, yes, indeed, one or two of the Leicester players have got extremely large appendages. So we put it at that. My son who was in the changing room. Dion Dublin especially. Well done, mate. Proud of you. I think about that. Every time I see him,
weren't it?
Sorry?
The Holmes were definitely under his big hammer.
Yes, indeed. I always wondered why the homes he did, he recommended the toilet to be 6 foot away from wherever he was stood.
I'll tell you what, Chris, my issue with this, with the timing of this as well, is that Leicester did this before, when they previously when they sacked a manager, then they took a period of time before announcing someone. You've done it now where people were expecting it in another 3 or 4 days. Why, if you're going to do it now, surely there's a reason. This is my point. Like, if you're going to do it now, then clearly you've got someone who's ready to walk in. Look at Sheffield United. They announced Chris Wilder leaving. 10 minutes later, they uploaded the fact that the new manager were being brought in.
Yes.
Leicester need to. They shouldn't have just done it without the contingency in place. But now it's coming out that they haven't even drawn up a shortlist.
Well,
according to Sky Sports, I mean, we can all see the shortlist. It's pretty much obvious and it's out there in the blue. Nothing's escaped social media these days. But it's. I just think it's not that it's silly because it was needed. It was massively needed, but.
Totally agree with what you say there, and I just want to bring Az's comment up in a second. But you would hope that they've done this now. That what they've been fucking doing for the last. I mean, and again, don't get me wrong. I know, we know that Top's got problems with King Power over in over in Thailand. But what have John Rudkin and Susan Whelan and the useless gits in the board? What have they been sat on their arse for? Under the hands under their arse or something. Hopefully, during this past 5 weeks or so since the season ended, they've actually been looking at other managers.
You'd like to think so. Surely getting background checks and things like that. I mean, armchair Damien Duff. He's managed in Ireland. Don't run before you can walk. I mean,
yes.
But
sometimes you can take a gamble and it pays off. I mean, in fairness,
Leicester can't afford a gamble right now.
No, exactly. We can't.
Leicester need to rebuild. This is a perfect rebuild job. No matter what's going on with the King Power stuff, this is a rebuilding job for Leicester now. Get rid of all the egos, start again, bleed that youth through, and the good times will return to Leicester City Football Club. That's what this club needs. That's why someone like Sean Dyche would be the perfect fit. Danny Rowe's going to come in and do pretty much what Ruud did. He's going to play attacking football. It might work in the Championship. He might be able to say, right, you've got an ego, but I need you. But then that's what you had with Ruud. Get to the Prem again, and you back up shit creek without a paddle. At least with Dash, he will weed that out straight at nice and early, and time will tell.
Exactly. No, totally 100%. By the way, if anybody wants to just come on for a few minutes and give their thoughts, the link is in the chat and what have you. So we will look at, and there's a few names coming up. We will go through some names in a second. Armchair Jockey has been one of those. I want to pull up this point from, Paul, first of all, has said, morning, hope this isn't the slip-up, doing it before the 1st of July. The 1st of July, I think that's the day after they come back. I'm not sure, the players. But the idea within the 1st of July is for the PSR. I am guessing that if we did it after the 1st of July, let's say we might have had to pay him off 5 million. And I have no idea. I'm just picking that figure out of the blue. We had to pay him 5 million. We may have agreed with him now if he leaves a 2 million because it's mutual consent. So we may have saved a bit of money by doing it early on that one. But El-Azhar here is saying the question, will he use the youth? That's what people fear with Daesh. Look, I know what your answer to this is going to be because we talked about this the other night. But you tell us what about Daesh and youth at Burnley.
Yeah, he loved bleeding you through. He was the main reason why we have a Category A academy now. When he first came in, like I said, we had next to nothing at the training ground. It was just basically tin sheds and to get changed in and a bit of waterlogged pitch to kick about where you'd do 1-2 drills with the Ducks. It was that bad up there. Yeah. But he came in and said, look, I want to change not just the team on the pitch. I want to build the infrastructure so that the future of Burnley Football Club is secure. That's another thing that Sean Dyche did. He wanted to bring in a youth system, bleed players through. Let's be the next Southampton and stuff like that get all these youngsters that come through that, back in the day, you had your Walcotts, your Oxlade-Chamberlains, Lallanas. We wanted that push. That's what he will bring to Leicester, bleeding that youth through if that youth is good enough. He did it with Jay Rodriguez. He's done it with Dwight McNeil, who, like I said, Jay Rodriguez now playing in the Championship with Wrexham. But Dwight McNeil at Everton has gone out. Okay, Burnley's academy at the time when Dash was in wasn't that great, but he was the focal point as to how it has built. He's the perfect candidate to bleed youth through. And like I said, that mixed with his man management and putting them in and around the team. It's not, he might not play them, but he might put them on the bench. So it gives them a feel of being in and around that first team dressing room. And, so they get little snippets of what's to come. And sometimes if he thinks, I think he'd be strong enough, he'll put them in.
Yeah.
Cup games especially. I know at Burnley we always used to say Dash didn't like the cups because we never did well in them. But then yet again, we always drew Man City in the third round and got knocked out. So we can't say we didn't do too bad. But in terms of youth, I think he'll bleed youth through brilliantly.
And in fairness, the last 3 months, I mean, look, Steve Cooper won the under-17s World Cup with England. Never really brought any youth through. Probably Brendan Rodgers could have done more with youth. But Ruud did absolutely all with youth. So we haven't had many managers that have actually done anything decent with youth. And I've just realised I should have been on a podcast at 12 o'clock. It's just sent me a message. I want to say, sorry, mate, Ruud's been sacked. I have to put it back. But let's have a look then at these managers. I mean, look, to me, I think for 3 years, it was all about getting us back up and keeping us back up. Who will do that the best? And I think it would be Sean Dyche, like you say. It might not be the best football, but I can't get this through to people. We played tippy-tappy football under Enzo. We were 17 points clear, and people were saying, it's boring football, isn't it? We're 17 points fucking clear at the top of the league. What did you want, And is it about, I get this with West Ham fans as well, we're not playing the West Ham way. Fuck the West Ham way. You played won a European trophy playing the David Moyes way. And people are saying about Sean Dyche, but Ask any Everton fan, they didn't like him. He kept them up with a bloody points deduction.
Yep.
That's his job. He is not going to win you the Premier League.
So not only has he got previous of working with points deductions, he also can keep them up when it comes to the Premier League with a points deduction. So
that's the thing.
And you've got the Prem experience. Danny Roll hasn't had that experience of being higher in the division, having to deal with that sort of thing. Like I said, you won the league on beating teams 1-0.
Yeah.
On shithousing games 1-0.
Yeah.
Sean Dyche achieved European football by beating teams 1-0.
This is
it's about playing football. Playing football can be played. Football can be played in many different styles. There's a reason there's different formations, different tactics. We don't all have to piss in the same pot or the same corner, as some of us like. But you have to play the football that wins games. It might be ugly. It might not be the best to watch. But if you can walk away from that stadium saying, oh, another 3 points, brilliant. It's all well and good having fancy football and winning 3-0, but then getting promoted and then getting beat 3-0, 4-0 a week after, etc., etc. Not finding the back of the net, thinking, why am I even coming here just to see us get beat again? Looking forward to the football. If you can look forward to the football at the weekend and have that little, with Dash, you'll have that optimism of we're going into this thinking, oh, we could get something. We might not get something. But at least I know that defensively, we're going to be solid. The structure's going to be built on a defensive unit, which is something Sean Dyche likes. And that's what Leicester need right now because they're shipping goals left, right and centre. So, yes, it just makes perfect sense. And if I don't understand why one in the boardroom saying Dyche is perfect and the other one going, well, I don't think so. It's like, hold on a minute. One of you is having financial problems in Thailand. Have you got $1 million to bloody spend? Have you got $1 million to spend on getting a manager out who's potentially might say, well, I don't really want to come there because I've just been in a club that's got issues.
And in fairness, he's also expressed a preference to go back to Germany.
Well, yeah. There you go. Nobody needs another person homesick in the squad, do they? So
sorry, I've just
It's mad. It makes perfect sense. I don't understand why people like to put Dyche under the same bracket as Sam Allardyce, but he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. If you've got attack-minded players, he will use them. You could see at Burnley he would have changed fortunes, bringing in Stephen Defoe, bringing in Maxwell Cornet. At the time, we thought Dyche signing foreigners. What's all this about? We've been known as Brexit FC for years. How was this? How was this all about? But he will work wonders, and. It's not just. It doesn't just stop at Sean Dyche. This is his assistant, Ian Warne, Steve Stone. Yes, they've got ties to Leicester, but like Chris said earlier, Martin O'Neill, etc., etc.
Yeah. There are times you can take a gamble, and when you look at Sean Dyche and his experience, and then you look at Danny Roll and his experience, that's what we need at the moment. This is not the time to take a gamble. And I know what they're probably saying with Sean Dyche is that, it's another change of style of football. Yes, it is, but we have to bite the bullet sometimes. And like I say, it's like, what do we want for the next 3 years? What we want is to get promoted and stay promoted. I think, personally, Steve Cooper would have kept us up, despite me wanting him gone. I think he would have done, but hindsight's the wonderful thing. And I just think, Sean Dyche, this ship is out of control. This ship is the Titanic heading for the iceberg. Sean Dyche, he ticks the boxes. Can he get you relegated? Can he get you relegated? That was a Freudian slip. Yes, he can. But can he get you promoted? Yes, he can. Can he work with... I can see the future. Can he get promoted? Can he get you promoted? Yes, he can. Can he work with youth? Yes, he can. Can he steady the ship? Yes, he can. Has he got the experience of the Championship more than a year? Yes, he has. He's ticking all the boxes. Could he keep us up? Yes. Can he work without much money? Yes. How many people that are in that list that Andreas put up, how many people can do that?
None. United Kingdom.
After all that long introduction.
No, it's true though. There is nobody really who can do that. He fits the mould. He's just Yes, he can. Armchair. Yes, he can.
Yeah.
It's
That's who we need, Bob the Builder.
but it's. I just think
Yeah, Armchair just there. Can he fix it?
Leicester fans want success straight away. They want the success because there's been so many highs.
Yes.
They want that roller coaster to keep going. I want to keep enjoying the ride. But like all rides, all roller coasters, they have their ups and downs. That's where you get the excitement levels up because you have those ups and downs. Let's not forget it. But yeah,
I want to just bring this up because basically this was my moment when I did actually get right. Is that El Bazza says, remember, no one wanted Claudio Ranieri. Remember that. I want to take you back to before Claudio Ranieri was appointed. And I'm going to show you this because I don't know how well you can see that. But this is from the Metro newspaper, dated the 9th of July, 2015, 10:33. Claudio Ranieri would be the perfect manager for Leicester City. Can you see who wrote that?
Some idiot called Chris, I think it says.
Yes, that very same idiot that is talking to you right now. So the original Tinkerman, Claudio Ranieri, wants to return to the Premier League and he wants to come to Leicester City. As I said then, makes a perfect change that somebody wants to come, actually wants to come to the club. But as I said then, he's never won a league, but we're never going to win a league. Little did I know. He's very good at getting teams up to second and fourth and winning a cup. If he did that with Leicester, we'd have been more than happy. So actually, Ezaz, I know what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying, but I just have to blow my own trumpet.
That comes perfect timing to Graham's comment.
I'm just trying to find. Dyche is a championship manager, will get promoted, then Dyche will play 9 at the back, aiming not to lose, not playing
like
to
you
win.
Just said about Azza's comment, and that they already wanted Ranieri. You've got fans now saying Dyche is a championship manager. He's not a championship manager. Not in the slightest is he a championship manager. He has got all the Premier League pedigree, and I can't believe there's people that are writing him off. He might play. He will not play 9 at the back. Yes, he might play 4-4-2. He might be old school, but if it works, it's so infuriating. It gets you results. You need to play football that gets you results, not football that, oh, that's nice. Look at that pass. Oh, he megged him. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, what's the score read on that screen up there? Oh, we lost 5-0 this week. But guess what? Monga megged somebody, so that's a positive.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. I would rather watch shit passing it around and yes.
El Adder says there exactly. We won the league with 4-4-2. Exactly. We did, and this is what. And I said earlier. I mean, I had Julian Watts on the show a few weeks ago. Ex-Leicester City defender. Headed the ball over for the Claridge, shinning it into the net. That's his claim to fame, and he's holding on to that. Lovely guy, Julian Watts. He's actually a reserve team coach at a team that's 11th in the 11th tier of football. So he's very much doing it as a sort of part time, but he obviously loves football. And he was saying he plays the Pep way. He plays out from the back. I went, why the fuck do people do that? I said, boot it upfield. If you lose the ball, your defence has got time to get back into position. Play it out from the back. You lose it in the bloody penalty box, they're going to score. I don't get this love affair why everybody is up Pep Guardiola's arse.
You've hit the nail on the head. My mate said it the other day. He's the same. He said he's took on a under 10s girls team in Northern Ireland. He's moved there. I'm glad you're still with me. Thanks for that, even though you tried to desert me in the first comment, but we'll take it.
Always nice to have Kate in.
But yeah, Josh, Joey, sorry, is he moved to Northern Ireland. lives in a place called Tummery, and there's a team called Tummery Athletic. They've got this under-10s girl team, and he's playing football like Dash used to do. He said everybody else in this tournament that he's done recently are trying to play a Pep way. He said, and it's silly. It's silly. But yeah, I just think you've got to play how you can, and he's won tournaments playing the way he has, and everyone's gone, well, why? How comes you're not playing it that way? It's like, well, why? If that works against what you're playing, I'm going to play it.
Oh, I was just looking at Kate's thumbnail then.
Yeah,
she was holding something large and bold. I thought, well, what is that?
That would be my beer belly, Chris.
Graham said, I'm a Forest fan. I hope you go down to the top Premier South, wherever that is. But Cooper and Dyche will walk the championship, but not good enough for the Prem. Look, I disagree. I really do disagree. I mean, look, I've got to say, as a Leicester fan, I had you down for relegation last season. And as a Leicester fan, I was very, very pleased that we got the draw that meant that you couldn't qualify for the Champions League on your own right. But well done on a fantastic season. Look at that manager there. Look at your manager. Oh, what's he called? What's the Forest manager called? Duno, that's it. I thought he was the reason I had you bottom, because I didn't rate him as a manager. But sometimes the manager and a team just click, and Forest do. And Nuno and Forest do, sorry. But why are they just championship managers? Yes, Cooper did keep you up, and maybe he wasn't going to take you any further. But for Dyche, he got bloody Burnley into Europe, for God's sake.
Yeah, but again, Chris, they're a championship manager. What? Because they've got the success of Nuno now. If they didn't have the success of Nuno and they were still battling relegation last season, would Steve Cooper still be a championship manager, or would he have been one of those managers that did what he did, similar to as Nuno were doing in his first season?
Yes.
This is what I mean. People are so quick to forget what these managers helped build. These managers have helped shape the future of our football clubs, whether it be good or bad. Ruud will have his good points that he's made in terms of Leicester. Might be minimal, but there'll still be little points that at Leicester, things Ruud did might still be implemented.
Yes. Yeah.
These managers don't just leave. They leave a legacy there, good or bad. They still leave something there. Championship manager, I think, is a bit of a negative. But
yes,
I agree with what you said, Chris. Graham, fair enough to Forest after the season you had.
Yeah.
You deserve all the accolades. But again, I don't think Cooper or Dash is a championship manager. I think they are a bottom-end Premier League manager, potentially, yes.
You look at these managers, you look at them and think, right, what can they do for us? And if we get up, and let's say we take Dyche on and he gets us up and he keeps us up, which I think, and that's possibly his limit, and maybe 13th, 14th, something like that, personally, at the moment. But that's what we need. That he will fulfill that need for our next 3 years. And having this super plan about we're going to play fancy tippy-tappy football with Danny Roll, and look, I wouldn't be crying in my milk if we appointed Danny Roll, but what experience has he got in the Premier League? He's just a championship manager. I mean, you're going to say somebody's just a championship manager, Danny Roll, because he's not fucking managed anywhere else. But he is second favourite. Like I say, he is only a £1 million get-out clause now. But Everton and Burnley boss, former boss, Sean Dyche, is the odds-on favourite for the job at 4-7. This is by Bet Victor. Next in the early betting is the Sheffield Wednesday manager at 7-4. Michael Carrick at Middlesbrough, again, just a championship manager. He's done all right at Middlesbrough. The worrying thing about Michael Carrick is he's at a club like Middlesbrough that don't sack managers very often.
No.
The owner there is a Middlesbrough fan, and he gives managers a chance. They had the flirtation, when they had Brian Robson and they signed Raviniella and lost to us in the League Cup final and what have you. But they don't. So if he's not able to do it at Middlesbrough, who give him the chance to, then that worries me about him. And now you've played his side a couple of times. Were you impressed with him?
No,
No.
not really. Not really. Again, he can be quite pragmatic. He does change his style every now and again, but if that's what you're going to base a manager on, then go for it. But if it is Danny Roll, then it is Danny Roll. It is what it is, and I'm sure Chris and everyone else in Leicester will back him, and certain people will say that's what I want. But I'll just say, give it time, and you'll you'll realise, and you'll just realise that the grass isn't always green.
I have to say, and if this happens, I am going to start supporting Burnley. I did actually say that if this guy's appointed, I'll start supporting Nottingham Forest, but I don't think I can actually do that. But I will come over to the Claret and Blue side if Gary O'Neill, who is 4-1, is appointed manager.
Nah.
What a utter and complete tosspot. I know, I'm sorry, Craig, Paddy from the old Up the Cherries in all departments, who absolutely is his bum buddy. What the hell has he done? He was sacked by Bournemouth. He was sacked by Wolves when we were actually below us. Why would we even look at that guy?
He starts off very well. Always seems to start off very well, and then eventually it crumbles. Again, we're going back to these. This is a manager that has 1 or 2 years, gets the chop. Michael Carrick had 2 or 3 years at Middlesbrough, got sacked. Yeah. Danny Rowe, he's a manager that's probably a lot more capable than what he has done, than Sheffield Wednesday for where they're at now. But for longevity, for the fact of what he's done in the game, how he can get results, his record speaks for itself. If you're basing it on records and stats and things like that, then Sean Dyche is the one. People just want attacking football. It pains me to see. Because football's changing. Don't get me wrong, football's changing and adapting. But as we've seen with Pep this year, it doesn't work. Doesn't always work.
No, it definitely doesn't. Now then, coming up after that, though, I did have it up. Where are we on? Liam Rafinha, I wouldn't mind him. He's a 10-1 outsider. But, look, he's at Strasbourg in Europe.
Yeah.
I think he was... I think the sacking of him at Hull, we said this last night, didn't we? He's the... Yeah, I'd love to have him, but I think Hull was stupid to sack him. I think they'd be in the Prem now if they stuck with him. David Wagner. Ooh, no. I don't know. No, it doesn't excite me. Now, this one does. Chris Wilder.
Again, I said it the other day. Wilder with certain clubs works, but I don't think it'll work at Leicester.
Wow. I think he could be that. If we don't get Dyche, he'd be like a Dyche, like get us up and maybe keep us up.
But I think he's got little elements of Dyche in there, but I just think it goes back to the ego thing.
Yeah,
Wilder for me comes with an ego, and when a manager's got one, and you've got players coming in with one as well, it's going to create carnage.
Totally. And as Bazza says there, about a 3-season manager. But that's what we need at the moment, because if we take on somebody like Roll or somebody like that, we could be down for 5 years. Because getting out of this division isn't that easy. Steven Gerrard, 16-1. Oh my God, no.
Don't do it to yourself. Look, you've just done it by appointing an ex-player, and it didn't work. Steven Gerrard, Rangers, yes, it worked.
No, it didn't. This is the funny thing with Rangers, right? My neighbour's son-in-law, who I spent a very drunken New Year's Eve with a few seasons ago, I said to him, when they sacked the guy that followed Steven Gerrard, would you have Steven Gerrard back? And he said, not in a month of Sundays. He said, he did not win us that title. His assistant manager did. He was the one that was doing the tactics and everything. Gerrard was almost, if you like, the PR guy. So, yeah, interesting. But no, Steven Gerrard, no. Here's an interesting one. At 20-1, Johannes Hoff Thorup.
I'm guessing
Who
he's
has obviously not
Norwegian
been
or Danish or something.
Danish, and he's at Norwich at the moment. But he's not been at Norwich 2 minutes, has he? He's only just joined Norwich, hasn't he?
No, he's not been there a while. He's not been there for long. I think, again, you're going down the pecking order now. And yes, you could pick a manager like that if it comes to it, where these managers go, well, the uncertainty, I don't want it. You are going to have to obviously go down further that list. But for
his average term as a coach, 2.76 years. So that 3 years thing, and he plays 4-3-3 attacking. So
I just think, I just see the alignment of Dash and Leicester. I don't think I can look any further than it, because I just believe that he will be the man to change your fortunes. And you can all, you know what, I've said enough about Dash on here. I really, really have. And I think if he did come in and it was an absolute shitstorm, you'll be like, Chris, don't get that idiot on again. He doesn't know what he's on about. Doesn't know what he's talking about. He's talking a lot of shit. But right now, for where you're at, it just makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
yes, yeah, and this sort of, I mean, you know, there's a guy I have on occasionally. He's on another Leicester channel, Blue Tinted Glasses. Do check that out, guys. Manny, very nicely, he comes on, and what I'm looking for. He's very much. Oh, he can't stand Sean Dyche. He really cannot stand Sean Dyche.
By his comments.
Yeah. He's there, Manny. Yeah. Manny. Sorry, I didn't see you there, mate.
Could we change this philosophy though if Dash came in and, you know,
do you want to come on and have a battle with Dan the Man? The links in the chat.
I'd love to know why you don't like Dash. Like, what's the reason behind it?
Yeah, if you want to come on, Manny, we've not got long left. But if you want to come on, please do. Let me send him the link. Now he's asking for the link. This could get him. If anybody's thinking about leaving and going for lunch, don't. This is going to get very, very, very exciting now. Here we go. Manny from Blue Tinted Glasses will be joining us very, very soon. So let me entertain you. I'm going to do this. There we go. Then there's a little space for him when he joins us. This is going to be interesting because he had actually got me over to his side of thinking. But yes, we need to decide how we want to play along the future and fit in a manager to do that. But is that going to last? Is Pep style football? I can see him smiling. Is Pep style football had its day? Is Pep style football on its way out? Manny, is it?
Hello. Sorry. Hello, bear with me a second. I'm getting a bit of an echo. Let me figure that out. Well, should we get into Dash?
Right, first of all, okay. In Pep style football, is it on the way out though?
Yes, it is. But I'm not advocating Pep style of football. I think we're in a transitional moment of football where the 15-year era of the dominance of tiki-taka has been usurped by transitional, high press transitional football. I call it throttle ball. So this whole Dyche conversation, although I'm sure the Burnley fan, from his point of view, he loves Dyche. Dyche did a great job for him from where they came from before and afterwards. They've never seen better times than Dyche. So Dyche is a god to the Burnley fan. But to us, Dyche is a backward step for several reasons. Style of football, ultimate performance. You know, at the moment, you're basing it on the fact that we're a championship team. Clearly, we are a championship team. We've had a few years of yo-yoing. But our ultimate ambition, with all due respect, is a lot higher than Burnley's. We've won 5 domestic trophies since 2000. Premier League, FA Cup, 2 League Cups, Champions League, Europa League, the European Disneyland League. We've been in everything. I think Dyche took Burnley to Europe, but correct me if I'm wrong, they got knocked out the qualifying round, is that right?
Yep, out the knockout rounds, yeah.
I don't see how a manager whose ceiling is a knockout round of a European round can match Leicester City's ultimate ambitions. So what is the point of having a sticking plaster over a gaping wound? Transforming the type of team that you have so that we have a Dyche-related team. Remember, we don't have Dyche centre-backs. We don't have a Dyche striker. We don't have Dyche wingers. And we don't have Dyche midfielders once Ndidi and Soumare leave. So to rebuild the squad in his image just for a couple of years, and then either his performance won't be good enough or the fans will get bored of it. Either way, he'll get the can. And then we're stuck with basically an average team. I believe his average team at Everton was 29 years old. So old, slow, boring, useless players in an era of fast, rapid football. Is that a strong enough case?
Dan, do you want to come back?
No, I mean, to be fair, there was elements of that where I'm like, yes, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And obviously the way the world is and how football has adapted, everybody wants that sort of, not the style of football that Pep's doing, but everybody wants attacking football. They want to be turn up and be entertained. But let's not forget, they're also there to see the team get results. Whether it's entertaining or not, it's about getting results. Like, I look at it now. Yes, we've gone back to the Prem. Am I jumping and excited about being back at the Prem? Am I balls? I can't be arsed. Like, the Premier League for me is now, it's all about money because of the gulfing class between the teams that get promoted and stuff. You go back to what you said there about winning all these accolades and stuff, and yes, at the time they were for the time where Leicester were, the squad that you had and everything else, it was perfect, brilliant, and commend all them achievements. They were absolutely fantastic. But for now, where there's turmoil behind closed doors, nobody knows what's happening on that. You've had a manager who can't seem to find who's got strikers there, but doesn't know how to use them. And yes, I'm not saying he's gonna dash these players. He's not. It's so easy to say that yes, Dash was boring and everything else, but it's not a case of him It's not a case of him dashing the squad. He's shown at Everton, I believe, that they can play with an attacking intent. They can get results. They are still in the Premier League right now. That's what Leicester need to get back to that. Yes, it could be a temporary solution for the next 2 to 3 years, but after that, that's when you've got to, progress. Right now, it's a start.
Go on, Chris. Before I jump on him, Chris, go on.
Before you jump on him, let me just say, you wouldn't have thought that when your manager is the guy who scored 10 in a row, and his main striker is the guy who scored 11 in a row, that we would have trouble scoring, but we did. But Manny, what I want to put to you is what we were talking about earlier, and what Dan's alluded to there, is come back on this first and then come back on Dan if you want. But it's all about us money-wise, financially, with everything that's going on at the moment with the club. We need to be back in the Premier League, whether that's after 1 or 2 seasons, and that could depend on the points deduction if we get one, which we more than likely will do. Is Dyche the man, though, just not for the 3 seasons? Is he not the man that will get us or could get us promoted because he's got experience in that and keep us up? And then we look at the next step. I've said Dyche is not going to get us into Europe these days. Dyche is probably not going to win us a cup. But what he will do is what we want to do, which is get us promoted and keep us up.
So you're saying Dyche is like a stepping stone to Premiership stability and beyond.
That's what I'd say as well, man. That's what I would say as well.
Which club would you cite where he's been a stepping stone, where he's created that stability and the club's kicked on afterwards?
He didn't do too bad at Burnley, did he? He kept them up.
Well, if they were so stable and a club could build on his work, why did Burnley yo-yo after him?
They sacked him.
Yeah, but my point is, we're saying we're gonna.
We have a similar situation to what you've got at the moment. You've got the issues with the King Power stuff. We had takeover rumours going on. There was disagreements between Dash and the board. These are little things that obviously come about and can change the infrastructure of how things then spill out onto the pitch. But before Dash came in, yes, we had Owen Coyle or whatever. He got us promoted, but I think we rode a wave of having a bit of a run in the cup, capital punishment, getting to the semi-finals of the Carling Cup at that time, and then thinking, right, well, use that negative to push on for the playoffs, and we managed to. But after that, yes, we went up, came back down, but then we were down for a while. We had Brian Lords. He kept us down. We missed out. We stayed down for a good couple of seasons.
No, but what? No, but I'm going to butt in right at that point, though. But you're telling me that the whole point of Dyche is he can create a stable team, a stable club that you can progress with after his time is up. I'm saying that after his time is up at Watford, they didn't progress. After his time at Burnley, they got worse. They didn't progress. At Everton, they did progress because, apparently Dyche, can keep clean sheets and score goals. Have a look at the number of goals and the clean sheets that they've got under Moyes. With the same team, they got one signing in January, by the way, one different signing. Moyes has got twice the number of points per game, twice the number of goals per game, and a much better defensive record too. This isn't a guy that creates some kind of, lower level Premier League utopia that the next guy just kicks on with. That's never happened before. No club has improved long term with Dyche at the helm. Not long term. Not long term.
Just come in there, mate. On that point, that's not down to Sean Dyche or whatever. That's down to the manager that's picked to follow that man. You can't.
The manager that's picked to follow that man has still got Sean Dyche's team that he's working with initially, right?
Yeah, that's kept you up. That's got you promoted.
Like I say, man, as well. This is a guy who came in, changed the infrastructure, not just the team on the pitch. We built an academy and everything else. So he also did things behind the scenes as well.
That's true. I'll give you that. Yeah,
the signings he made. Tom Heaton, relegated with Cardiff, relegated with Bristol City, turned into Burnley on a free transfer. It was his first ever signing as Burnley manager. Turned him into an England international.
How do you do with Maxwell Cornet?
That is completely different.
My point is that you can cherry pick the good ones, but I could cherry pick bad ones too. So it's not as if Maxwell Cornet
had injury issues. He had a ropey ankle, and also it was messed up on his contract. We actually let him go cheaply to West Ham because we gave him a release clause, which the club have now come out and said in recent years that no player will ever have a release clause or relegation release clause in their contract because of how much we got done over with the Maxwell Cornet.
Ashley Barnes, Wout Weghorst, these are all choices. Like, you can choose a striker. I'll choose Wout Weghorst because he's the kind of profile of player that I want. I don't want to watch Wout Weghorst at my club. Leicester City have achieved winning the Premier League with counter-attack football, fifth under Brendan through passing football, and a promotion under Enzo playing tiki-taka football. There's no part of this where we haven't kicked it long since Levine in like League One or Holloway or something. And in my era, it would have been Martin O'Neill. Now, in those days, Martin O'Neill, it was brilliant, Kick it to the far post, Jerry Taggart gets the header cross goal, we knock it in with Walshy, Heskey or something. That football is 30 years old. That's why Dyche didn't get the Brentford job. That's why Dyche wasn't considered for the Tottenham job. That's why Dyche wasn't given the Southampton job. That's why Dyche wasn't considered.
Attacking football. They're chasing attacking football, which is the way.
Correct, and that's what we don't. We don't want defensive football. That's my point. We don't want that.
It's not going to be defensive. It's going to right now. What you need is to sort that back line out because you are shipping goals more than a fucking port in the UK right now.
Not in the Championship. Not in the Championship. Not in that Championship.
This is the thing. You know what? If we had Wout Weghorst in the Championship, probably would have been different. Put him in a team that's struggling in the Premier League. He's not going to do fuck all. He's not going to do all.
Exactly. So what's the point of building a team that's just in it perennially? The peak of your ambition is to fight relegation, and hopefully you can do a solid job and finish 15th, 16th, 17th.
But then right now, the argument is you are a Championship club.
And the last time we were a Championship club, we went to Tiki Taka and won 27 of our first 30 games. We had a 17-point lead. I think we scored 100 plus goals, nearly 100 points. We got promoted, not a peep out of the squad in terms of problems. So why do you need functional football to sort the defence out? Why do you need functional football to get you up? We played Tiki.
The Championship season is exactly the reason.
Exactly. So anything will work in the Championship.
No, I'm not saying anything will work. I'm saying if you've got to make it work and you've got to have the right man at the helm. At that time, we pushed on because we had a manager in Vincent Kompany that we gained success off his name. Players wanted to play for him. Certain players that were probably bigger and better than Championship level came to us because of it, because of the actual, point of being there. I just feel that we, at that time, rode a wave. When it comes to the Premier League, it's a lot different because as soon as we got to the Prem, he was found out. Leicester aren't amongst that power elite anymore.
Yeah, but Leicester. The differences between Leicester and Burnley,
you want to achieve that. Every other club in football wants to achieve that success. Every other club wanted to look at Leicester after winning the league and think, well, if Leicester can do it, we can do it. Look at Forest recently, and I know that sounds shitty with their success recently, but last season they were battling with us. The season before last, to relegated, points deductions between us, them, and Everton, and who's going to stay up, who's not. Dash has brought in, again, going back to your other comment of what's he done. He's left us £1 billion infrastructure in terms of finances, because those players that he brought in for 500k or $1 million that he sold on for 25
He hasn't
million,
left you with £1 billion, not £1 billion quid.
No,
billion.
I'm talking in terms of transfers.
You haven't got £1 billion quid's worth of players.
No, we haven't got that. But what I'm saying is, in terms of their value to the club at the time, and in terms of what he bought them for, to how much they went for. We had a chairman then at that point.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I get it for you guys. It makes sense.
Our new chairman.
I get it. It makes sense for Burnley, and all the things you're saying are right.
So but what's different to Leicester's mentality?
We've got a tier 1 academy, not a tier 3. Or
we're also level 1 academy now.
Now you are, but you weren't under Dash.
No, yeah, we had it for 1 year and then we lost it.
Okay, so for 9 out of 10 years you didn't.
Yeah.
We also have the capacity of a stadium that's 12, 15,000 more, a history of much higher quality footballers, a history of actual
history again.
Well, we won the FA Cup 4 years ago. Is that history?
Recent history.
4 years ago.
Yeah, so it's recent history.
My point is,
you can't live off that.
We're not living off that. We're trying to set our benchmark higher than you.
Blackburn live off 1995. Notts County can always live off being the oldest.
What is your ultimate benchmark as Burnley?
Right, our chairman has come out and says he wants to see Burnley contending in the Champions League. That was his word. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. People.
Let me just come in there. Nanny. You saying that?
At him as well.
I laughed when our chairman said it. To be fair, I laughed when our chairman said it.
I laughed at Alan Pace when he said it, and he said, "You're laughing now." He says, "But if you don't believe what you want to achieve, then how are you going to achieve it?"
All right. So if that was his ambition, do you think he would employ Sean Dyche to achieve that ambition?
He didn't employ Sean Dyche.
I know. I'm saying, let's say you have a manager. Let's say Scott Parker, leaves a club before the season starts. He's done it before, and you have a change of manager, and Dyche is on the market, right? So let's say for whatever reason, Scott Parker has a fallout. Dyche is available. Do you think Dyche is the man to take you to the Champions League from the chairman's point of view?
No, but I don't think we'd go back in for Dyche because of the way it all panned out and the way he left, the way he did.
Well, why wouldn't you take him back?
Because right now, because what you're trying to say is that, would you think he's going to be that man? I'm not saying he's that man. For us right now, where we are in the Premier League, we've got to give Scott Parker that chance. He's earned the right to do that.
But if Scott Parker left, for whatever reason, Dyche should be top of your list, right?
Yeah, I'll take him back.
You take him back?
I'm not saying that he's going to... Listen, I'm not saying that he's going to be the man that's going to achieve you the riches, the powerful... He's not going to be your top 6 manager. But then no manager in the football league or in the Premier League looks at it and goes, I'm going to go in. Did Arne Slot think he was going to go in at Liverpool and instantly win the league? Probably not. Again, he's rode off the look of Jurgen Klopp.
Of course, but I'm saying ultimately, your project, your idea, you have to have a base starting point, which is whatever you are at the current time. But
so
you need to have an
starting point right now is the Championship. That's getting you up, giving you that stability, and then potentially moving him on, looking for something that could then do that. But
that's never worked for any other club. That's never worked for any club.
Then employing somebody who's a name like Ruud Van Nistelrooy, thinking he's going to get you results and push on and things like that, and it didn't work.
That's a double negative. I didn't ask for Ruud Van Nistelrooy either.
But this is what I mean. We can ask for something, and what we get.
There we go.
What we ask for and what we get is two different things.
Look, I'm not saying it's a black and white thing that Dyche is not good at all and it's a terrible idea and that permanently for everybody. It totally depends on which club you are. It depends on how much money you've got, what your pulling power is, what you do historically, basically where you set your ambitions. That's what I mean about historically. Because recent history, I'm not talking about 100 years ago. I'm talking about the last 20 years. We've won every domestic trophy since the turn of the millennium. Every single one we've won. We won it in real life. So not on FIFA. We won it in real life.
Hang on. I'm going to come in, Manny. I'm going to come in here because if we're talking recent history, we got relegated, we got promoted, we got relegated. That is our recent history. You can go back however long and say, yeah, we've won all these trophies. It means diddly squat, in fairness. Where we are at the moment is a badly run championship team with hardly any money that's probably going to get points docked. He's gone. He's gone. I think he's probably got a few problems. And he's back again. And he's back.
I can't hear you. Can't hear you. 1 minute. You guys have to carry on. I can't hear you. I'll be back with you as soon as possible. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll try and fix it.
But look, I know somebody said here, sorry to be personal, but this Burnley bloke wants Dyche baby.
No.
I
have said it's shit football to watch. It's fucking horrible to watch. It is shit, but it gets you results. This is all I'm saying. He came out in the media. I'll say again, he came out in the media. He kept going on about the same shit. It was always the same stuff in every interview. There is negatives to him. I'm not gonna say that there isn't. I'm saying for where Leicester are now, right now, not what you've done, not what cups you've got, what recent history. Yes, it's called history for a reason because it's happened. It's happened. But what I'm saying right now is you've got to look to what's coming next. Right now, you don't know what the points deduction is. You don't know whether the company that's helping put money into the club and things like that is also going to go to shit. And it could potentially have very, very detrimental effects to Leicester. Or, what happens there? What happens there? This is the thing. It's history. Bury Football Club had a history. Darlington had a history. AFC Wimbledon had a history. And where's theirs? Gone. Had to rebuild. Had to start again at the bottom pyramids of football. History is there to look back on and go, wow, we used to be massive. We used to be this. But right now, we are
still struggling to hear you guys.
We are absolutely, looking at the term for where you are. I'm not saying it's going to be a full fix. It's not going to be the answer to your prayers. He's not going to be the one that wins you another Premier League. He may not win you another cup, but what he's going to do is get you promoted, get you that stability. Yes, you say we were yo-yo, but Chris then also went on about how you went up, came down, went up, came down. We went up with you in second, 1 year as well. And it's not just that. You've got...
Brentford, sorry, I've just appointed Keith Andrews as head coach.
Sorry to Brentford for that. Good luck.
There's another one. Can you hear us?
I think so. I'm just going to plug my headphones in and you shouldn't get any feedback or echo and then we should be good to go. Sorry, boys.
That's all right. It happens.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
What I want to do then, man, is come back to you with that point.
Hit me with your rhythm stick.
Is that what you call it?
Hey. Only on a good day.
But look, if you look at the recent
on a good day,
find it on a good day.
The recent history isn't that good. Like I say, relegated, promoted, relegated, with probably the worst team I've ever seen, and I just about remember the Frank McClintock team. This is worse than the Peter. I would have had Peter Taylor back if they'd sat Ruud Van Nistelrooy during the season.
Steady.
No. That's how bad it was.
They're taking that guy back.
No, you know what I mean, though. But what I'm saying is what is the important thing about football? What do you want your team to do? Do you want to be like a West Ham fan and go, well, I've got to play the West Ham way, and they went up and down a few times, or it's about winning? And if you want to win things, you've got to look long term. And I get what you're saying, Manny. Remember, I did say, you almost converted me over. I did go over to the dark side and appreciate what you were saying a bit. And then I woke up and thought maybe not. But no, what I'm looking at is, like I say, Dyche is the next stage. But then we've got to get the manager right and get the manager that follows Dyche has got to take us on to that next stage. Any manager has got to be good enough to work with the players he's got. That's what Ruud didn't do. Ruud never worked with the players he got.
If anybody's studied basic project management, you have to do things iteratively. So you do things step by step. So this is kind of what we're talking about, doing things first step, get promoted, second step, stay up, third step, stabilise, fourth step, grow. But in order to do those iterative stages, you have to have consistency of mission statement, consistency of vision, consistency of recruiting policy, consistency of style, or at least a style that you think can evolve from A to B. For example, you can convert a counter-attacking team into a transitional team. All you have to do is essentially move the defending positions 10 feet higher, totally change the way you press, change your profile of player, and that's a logical progress you can make. It's tough to make progress if your major objective is to get the ball, almost play territory by playing it effectively long. Now, if you watch the 4-4-2 managers sort of forum thing that Dyche has done, which unfortunately I did, it was pretty painful. He spent the first 10 minutes talking about, this whole stuff about me kicking it up long, it's a bloody myth. It's all a load of rubbish. And then as soon as they got into the tactical thing, he goes, get it to the fullback, and his first job is hit it to the striker up long. On the first point he got into tactics, he talks about kicking it long. He thinks it's more like rugby. You play football in the danger areas for the opposition, not for us. Now there are some good things.
But let me just show you.
One
second. So on that point, what is the difference between a good long pass and just booting it upfield? Because when we last in the Championship, did Yannick Vestergaard play a lovely long pass up to Fatawu or Mabadidi that were running up the wing, or did he just boot it upfield? Because that's what we did a lot.
What about that time you won the Championship by finishing first, we finished second, and the difference practically was Chris Wood's volley, for you against us from a long ball from the keeper.
That was over a decade ago.
But
football's moved on so much in the last 3 to 5 years. Never mind a decade.
But then that can bring in history, then, couldn't it?
Yeah,
going back to your point about projects. And what did Dyche do? Let's not forget. Yes, Dyche had a defensive, a team built on a defensive structure, shall we say, right? And then Vincent Kompany came in. After numerous changes and things like that, and. Where did we go? What happened? He had to try and turn a defensive team into an attacking team. Did he achieve that? Yes, he did. So in terms of project management, he turned that team that was defensive that you said, how can you convert something, your words were, how can you convert something that's going to go so defensive, so back to the dark ages,
correct,
and take it into something attacking?
And you cited Vincent Kompany, yeah? How did they get on in the Premier League, remind me?
You started. You had Enzo. You played attacking football.
No. Pause. Don't deflect. Don't sidetrack. Don't deflect.
This is deflected.
You cited Vincent as your example of post Dyche, how you can progress with Dyche, and I'm putting a magnifying glass on the point that you made and said how much did you did quite in terms of promotion from the Championship. Yes, you achieved that. Achieved it with a bit of style. Very well done. And I certainly don't hold any malice or bad sort of feelings towards Vincent Kompany particularly, hence Bayern Munich put him into a better environment with better players and he's won the league. So but when it came to bringing that Dyche transition team, sort of trying to transition from Dyche's team to a Premier League Vincent Kompany outfit, I'm not sure how many years it was post Dyche that Vincent Kompany was in the Premier League, about 3 or 4, something like that probably, maybe 4. So 3-4 years afterwards we have an actual real-life example of a club that was yo-yoing, Dyche taking over, doing his Dyche thing, building his Dyche stability, and then 3-4 years later, someone tries to take that project forward. Now, the person who tried to take that project forward is a fully capable person. He's proven that at Bayern Munich. He's a captain of a Premier League team himself. He's been trained by Pep and probably Enzo and others, so he's had the right tutelage. That team could not progress. That team got relegated again, and the manager had to go, and you had to start again. And you know what? With all due respect, you're going to get relegated next season, and it's going to happen again. So this yo-yoing doesn't stop. There is no stability post-Dyche. There is nothing post-Dyche that we can cite that would inspire me to believe that what you guys are trying to convince is that Dyche will put in the foundational blocks. There is no team that Dyche has put in foundational blocks that is then progressed any further beyond what Dyche achieved. Not a single beam.
Then down to the board not picking the right.
It's not the board. It's the playing squad that he's built. You can't. Vincent Kompany.
Vincent Kompany's had success. He's probably had sex.
Correct, but he had Dash's players to work with. That was the problem.
Yes.
He had Dash's squad.
Yeah, and Dash's squad, he managed to turn that defensive unit, that lump it forward, whatever you like to call it, turned that into one of the most attacking teams in the Championship in recent history.
And then got relegated in the Premier League.
And Ruud Van Nistelrooy tried to play attacking football and got relegated from the Premier League.
Yeah.
So
you can't cite Ruud Van Nistelrooy as a reason. You can't say someone was awful, therefore this person is not as awful.
The same transition of
benchmark
Enzo. You had Enzo, which had the success.
Okay, benchmark it to
the
Enzo.
Success of
That's
Enzo.
fair.
In the Championship, you had that success.
Yeah.
Vincent Kompany in the Championship had that success. However, my extra argument is, from what you said, was that Enzo came in and carried on an attacking intent.
Yeah.
Sean Dash started as defensive, and you said, has anybody ever actually converted a defensive unit or a Sean Dash team and made it attacking and done all this and tweaked it
and progressed? Progressed.
Yeah.
So how did Vincent Kompany
went on to say
progress?
David Moyes has brought one player in and it's changed the whole system. So Sean Dash has laid the foundations wherever he's been so that the next person that comes in, which is what I'm saying, I'm not saying Dash is the answer to your problems. I'm saying right now he is the answer, but the long term, there will be someone out there who completes the solution.
But the problem is the completion of that solution. The second part, you are then working with a part that was not compatible. You can't say, I'm going to build a strong, robust unit, then after X number of years, bring a different manager in and everything is going to be hunky-dory. And suddenly these robust guys that have been playing for corners and set pieces and strength are suddenly, with one or two signings, are going to turn into a totally different team that's capable of finishing mid-table and higher.
We conceded literally 16 goals last season.
I'm talking about an era. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about a 3-4 month period.
I'm talking about the years. We are a team that has been built on being defensively solid. How many and trying to work forward. Right now, has Leicester even got a defence? Because it's pretty much like they've all gone out. I'll tell you what.
Well, we've actually played 3 effectively Championship teams in the Premier League season. We played QPR and we've played Southampton twice and we played Ipswich twice. We beat Ipswich once and drew once. We beat Southampton twice and we beat QPR 6-2.
Lucky with Southampton in one of those, let's be honest.
Well, still, we've played Southampton the last 4 times we've played them, we've beaten them. We spanked them in twice in the Championship. You guys are thinking about the Championship being, you've got to make wholesale changes for this league. The league is rubbish. The teams are rubbish. The standard is semi-rubbish. I am not worried about Leicester City with a 12-point embargo and no new signings finishing the playoffs. That's not me being cocky. I'll tell you why. It's because the last time we got relegated, I thought exactly this. I haven't been in the Championship for a decade. The last time I was there, it was a bugger to get out of. Leeds have been stuck there. Villa have been stuck there. Sunderland were still stuck there. Sheffield Wednesday are stuck there. Ipswich have been stuck there. Southampton have been... How many clubs took them ages to get back up? I was like... This is going to be horrible. What a disaster. We're going to lose Maddison. We're going to lose all these other fabulous players. This is all over.
Well, then
I watched about the first 3 games and went, the opposition's rubbish here. We're playing crap and we can win. That is why we walked in, having got relegated, having lost £100 million worth of players, most of our best talent. We still won 27 of our first 30 games because it's a joke league. And it's not a criticism to other clubs. It's the fact that parachute payments give you, and the years of being in the Premier League, plus parachute payments, give you such an advantage in terms of your wage structure, in terms of the type of player that you can get. It's unfair to teams like West Brom and Borough at the moment. They've been stuck down there so long. Look at the size of their budgets. Absolute peanuts, even compared to relegated teams. It's such a big advantage for a yo-yo team. For teams, that's why yo-yoing is becoming more and more popular. If you go down, there's a damn good chance you're going to come straight back up. Not first year, then year 2.
Yeah. Just to say, Graham, look, you're entitled to your thoughts, mate.
No, I agree. The thing is, Graham...
It's called having an opinion and a discussion, and that's what we're having. So you can't have a discussion unless you've got different
I'm not even talking as an advocate for Dash now. I'm talking about like what Manny's saying. He's then said that the EFL is shit, that the Championship is a crap league, but then you've spent years trying to get out of it. So that just goes to show that it's probably one of the more... You said that. You said
We
that
got
there was times
first season. Yeah. And I said a decade ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that's what I thought it was. But because we've had 10 years of the Premier League, 10 years of signing Premier League standards players,
we yo-yoed as well. Recently, you
will continue to yo-yo because you're too good for the Championship, but you're not good enough for the Premier League. You're in the same boat as we are.
Yeah, I totally agree. But that's why I'm saying right now, for where you are, that this sort of manager is the perfect fit to get rid of the deadwood, talk things through, get rid of the egos, and sort shit out.
Dyche would play the deadwood. The type of players that we call deadwood are Dyche's kind of players. People like Cody and Vestergaard and Jordan Ayew. Jordan Ayew is guaranteed to start.
If that deadwood can achieve you 5 or 6 consecutive years in the Premier League,
it can't. And we just had a year with them. They were rubbish.
But we had 4 or 5. Yeah, but under the right management.
So you think Jordan Ayew couldn't do it at 33, but maybe when he's 35, he'll be able to help us?
I think Jordan Ayew will do all right in the Championship.
Come on, Dan, you're better than that.
I'm not saying that these players.
Come on, Dan.
Listen, I'm not saying who he brings in, who he gets rid of, or whatever. He's going to have to work with whatever hand he's dealt with. But look at the players that we had. Who were 30-odd-year-old and achieved European football. Yes,
he achieved European qualifying round of football. You never actually played in the main competition. Let's be right.
And he's still in Europe, in fairness. Come on, man.
By the way, who did you play that qualifying round? I genuinely don't know. Who was it? Do you remember?
So we started, funnily enough, we said we're going on a European tour. We went to Aberdeen. And then it was...
Previous winners.
And then
it's in Europe?
And then we had Olympiacos. Oh no, we played somebody else as well. I'm sure we played somebody else.
So who was the team that ultimately knocked you out? Olympiacos.
Olympiacos.
Okay, that's a good team. That's a good team.
You know why though? Because at half time things weren't going their way, and a certain Marinakis went in to the. From what we've heard, Burnley even put in a complaint. Went into the referee's room, but we all know what his dark antics are like in that area. So.
But look, I need to start winding this up because I have got another...
Winding it down, you mean? We've done the winding up already, Chris. We've been doing that for the last 20 minutes. Where have you been?
I'm going to wind it down. You've wound it up. I'm going to wind it down now. I should have said it should have been on the podcast at 12. So I'm going to
AM or PM
on that. But no, look, Manny, looking on the dark side, if Sean Dyche... I said that's the one, but let's say we get the points deduction, we get a transfer embargo, a business plan. We know we're going to get hit hard. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. If that is the case, and by all accounts, John Rudkin wants Sean Dyche. If Sean Dyche comes
red
in,
flag right there.
Yeah, I mean, that is the same. Yeah, I mean, that is the elephant in the room.
I should have just opened with John Rudkin wants Sean Dyche, and that could have I could have just ended the argument.
But if he gets the job, will you back him?
Everybody gets backed until I see the first team selection. And then I'm going to start saying, why is Jeremy Monger on the bench? Why is Fatawu on the bench for Jordan Ayew? Why is Bobby Cordova-Reid starting over Mavididi? Why don't we have some of our exceptional youth talents being given more time? The why will start. And that it's not just Sean Dyche. Steve Cooper, I gave him all of pre-season, even though we lost every single game. I was like, no, it doesn't matter. Let's just see how it goes in the big show.
We won our first 2 pre-season.
And then the very first game, he dropped Mavididi for Cordova-Reid on the left. I thought, numpty. Just thought, if you think that is a smart, not just a footballing decision, which clearly Mavididi is way better than Cordova-Reid, but psychologically, this is how you manage your players. Mavididi's played 46 games in a row, scored 15 goals in the Championship from left wing and got you promoted. And you drop him first game. The guy's, remember, he's 26, never played in the Premier League, been around the houses at Arsenal, Juve, Derby, never played in the Premier League, busting to play in the Premier League, has earned the right to play in the Premier League, and you drop him first game for a guy you signed as a free transfer 6 days before. You know, if that's your man management, never mind your assessment of who the better player is, you're a numpty. I know you're going to fail.
I'll give you that. But Dan, is Sean Dyche the sort of man that will put square pegs in square holes? I mean, Ayew is not a winger. Ayew is a forward that will hold the ball up for you, go down and get you a foul. We had, under Ruud and under Steve Cooper, we had square pegs in round holes. It just wasn't working. We know that. Is Sean Dyche a square peg, square hole sort of man?
Yes, he will he'll sort it out, get rid of the shitty egos, and if anything, he'll have a team that is willing to fight for him in the end.
Brilliant.
Like I say, for now, it's what Leicester need, in my opinion.
And I've got to say, and this is on the BBC, so you believe it or you don't believe it. We are going to possibly getting a new defender in. Manny's going to love this. Manny is going to love this. Michael Keane.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I know.
Yeah, let's get Josh Brownhill, Michael Keane, Dwight McNeil when he gets dropped. I mean, you build a team.
I even wouldn't take Michael Keane now.
You build a team in your own image. You see, this is how I mean. Like, we've got Ben Nelson, who's a really promising young centre back, being linked with Chelsea. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to go for robustness, and those talented kids don't get the game time that they want because you value robustness and physical strength and maybe a bit of nous about the game over the things that the youth can give you. So I tell you what, all these Leicester fans, I'll say one thing, all you Leicester fans out there who might be watching, who are like, do you know what, this guy's talking rubbish and we'll get Sean Dyche in. I guarantee you, the second you see those team selections, you watch how slow, turgid the football is, you'll change your tune so quickly, screaming for Monga and Fatawu to come on the pitch. It's so quick to forget how trashy this football can be and how long it was since it was effective. And remember, nobody in the world is choosing to play this way anymore. No one. Not even Sheffield United, who just had Chris Wilder for several years and have got a Dyche kind of squad. They've chosen to go in a more modern style, shall we say. Nobody is going backwards to Dyche. No one. The only way Dyche should get a job, and he knows himself, if you listen to that overlap that we did the interview with Roy Keane and the rest of them, he's a firefighter manager. It's January time, your team's in a relegation battle, you're up shit creek, you can't find a solution, you bring Dyche in for 6 months, you give him a bonus if he keeps you up. He's a 6-month manager like Sam Allardyce was for the last 10 years of his career.
I said people put him in that Allardyce thing.
Last word.
He is.
To Dan. No, last word goes to Dan on that. Before Dan, I just want to say, I did a poll on X and Facebook, and all the Leicester fans who expressed an opinion, as they used to say to Kitty Cat, 78.9% of players, fans that responded said they would like Sean Dyche as the next manager. 21.1% said no. Last word with you, Dan, in response to what Manny just said.
As I said, Manny has mentioned a lot about history, a lot about recent successes, about how things have been. You won the league.
But are we not in that fire situation?
But
is the King's Tower not burning down and tops spilling away?
At the moment, there's a lot going on, whether it be behind closed doors, whether it be the managerial appointment. It's a lot to take in and a lot of change, and it could potentially be a worse case situation if the KP thing goes tits up. But personally, like I said, history. You won the league on beating teams 1-0. You will beat teams 1-0 in the Premier League.
That's not true. We didn't keep a clean sheet until second half.
No.
Carry on, Dan. Sorry, Dan. I don't want to ring you.
You was beating teams by a goal margin then. You was sneaking those wins by a goal margin, and you was just getting it over the line to achieve what you achieved, and it was great to see. That's what Dyche will do, and I believe he will step in for at least 2 or 3 years, create a good environment for the next man to come in and take the club forward from an attacking point, Manny. So there's some little positive in there.
Don't give me. Look, I believe everything you say, but don't give me the attacking stuff. Right? Just look at
the Dash.
Time out. I have got somewhere to go. No, look, guys. Thank you. I think the one thing we can take out of this program is no matter how many fans you put in a room together, they will not agree on anything, which is what football's about. It's about opinions. Whoever gets the job will support them.
It's a good job we rule by proxy and not by direct rule by fans making votes, because I dread to think some of the choices that some of these fans would make in terms of managers and playing personnel. Shocking.
All I'll go back to what I said earlier was, who was the guy that said that Claudio Ranieri would have been a good choice?
I thought Yeah, leave it there.
Danny, thanks for coming on, mate.
Always fine. Thank you, Dan, as well.
If you're free later on this evening, we're going to be doing another one. I don't know if you want to come on that as well.
No, I'll be about. Is Dan going to be on? I fancy round 2.
Well, that's up to Dan.
Come on, Dan.
If I spoke
cancel
to
your plans.
The missus would say he doesn't have enough usually for a second round.
Hey.
I'll let you both know what the plans are, then you can decide or not. But look, Dan at Turf Moorhouse TV, get over there and give him your support. Manny from Blue Tinted Glasses, get over there and support them as well. Appreciate you both coming on. Whoever it's going to be, it might be somebody completely left field. You know, Sam Allardyce might come out of retirement.
Do you know what? I'm worried that it's going to be bloody Southgate. That's what I'm really worried about. That's what I'm truly bricking myself about.
We can probably agree on that one. Yes.
You promise?
You promise? I'll agree with you.
There's 3 of us agreeing on that one.
in that show, it wasn't me that said Southgate, it was Craig, so I'm claiming no.
Look out, we end on unity in the end, you see, huh?
We end on unity then. Guys, thank you so very much. If you're watching, like, subscribe, share. If you've been listening via your favourite podcast platform, thank you for lending me your ears. I really do appreciate it. I've got to go because I've got another podcast to go and jump on. Thanks very much, guys. I'll give you both a message. Take care. All the best. Thanks very much.
5, 4.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.